Hey, this is Professor Game, where we interview successful practitioners of games, gamification, and game thinking who bring us the best of their experiences to get ideas, insights, and inspiration that help us in the process of getting our students to learn what we teach. And I am Rob Alvarez. I'm the founder of Professor Game and professor of gamification and games-based solutions at IE Business School, EFMD, EBS University, and many other places around the world. And if this content is for you, then please go ahead and subscribe to our email list for free at professorgame.com/subscribe. Hey engagers, and welcome back to another episode of the Professor Game podcast. And we have Liam with us today. But Liam, before we talk about you, your intro, your stuff you're doing, we need to know, are you prepared to engage?
I am prepared to engage.
We have Liam with us today, and he is prepared to engage, and he is a corporate partnerships manager for Knights Esports Group. He's a leading authority on competitive gaming, event management, league organization, and technology development. And unlike many others in the gaming industry, chose the traditional path of pursuing higher education, attending the University of Pittsburgh straight out of high school. During his senior year, he discovered his passion for leveraging games as a means for bringing people together, particularly during the pandemic. He joined the Knights immediately after graduation, bringing his unique perspective on the future of gaming, including its potential on education, health, and artificial intelligence, and he excels at building bridges between brands, gamers, fans, and influencers, and is available to share his expert insights on the ways in which gaming and esports will shape the future of industry and society. So, Liam, I don't know if we're missing anything there, but let us know if we are. We're definitely here to get to know more about what you're doing.
Yeah, awesome, man. I mean, I think that was a really concise introduction. My path into esports and gaming is relatively unorthodox, and I think that it can give hope to other people that are possibly pursuing their passion or looking to, it's not something that you always see every day, somebody coming from, the traditional education side and coming into esports, not pursuing originally being a competitive gamer or being in game design or anything like that, but truly wanting to just bring people together. And that's like a big part of what I'm about is bringing people together. And I found that gaming is one of, with the technology that we have and the community building aspect, it's definitely something that I'm very passionate about. So I think you put it really well in your words right there in the beginning.
Amazing. So Liam, what does a day with you look like? What are you doing nowadays? We want to sort of be around with you for a while and understand what that looks like.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. So every day is going to be a little bit different. I do have certain habits and daily meetings, but first it's going to start a little bit earlier. I do like to get into the gym earlier in the morning, and then after that, I'll ease into some of my morning meetings. And a big part of my day-to-day is looking to see how I can connect certain brands authentically to the gaming audience. So it's going to be storytelling, really, at the end of the day. I have to create campaigns that feel real and are poised to bring brands into the space in an authentic way that makes them not seem like traditional sports sponsorship. Because one thing that's different about esports sponsorship, and especially with my organization as a whole, is that I'm putting them into every level of the gaming experience so that people look to them as the primary solution to whatever problem that they're facing. And I'm pulling, stuff that I've learned in school, like with the marketing side, stuff that I have in my own personal skill set, things I've learned in my life. And that's really a big part of my day-to-day storytelling and, again, bringing people together. So morning workout, morning meetings, and then after that, it's most of the stuff is up to me. And one thing that's interesting about us is that we work primarily on Discord, so we have a bunch of virtual offices, and you'll always see me basically live streaming my day to day to the entire company. I know that's a relatively weird image to think of, but that's usually how my days go.
Amazing. It sounds like there's plenty of stuff to go around, and like it's at least pretty exciting. I don't know if for everybody, but definitely I find it very interesting. And I'm sure many of the engagers out there will be looking forward to knowing more about you. And it sounds like you got it all figured out at this point, Liam. But we know from experience, right? And what is experience? Screwing up every now and then, figuring out how things went wrong, why they went wrong, and what never to do again. So we want to hear one of those stories when you were, thinking of using games for something, some sort of purpose. As we were mentioning in the intro, And, actually things just didn't work out. And we want to be there in that story, learn some lessons with you, and in general, go along with you on that path.
Okay, I think this is a good question. So I was developing out a campaign for a certain health brand. We won't go into like the specifics on that, but what they had said was that they presented things in a way where everything that we had worked so hard to accomplish in those weeks of consultation, weeks of like internal and external meetings, was going to kind of fall apart, for lack of a better term. And this was months out of really planning. And one of the bigger challenges was that communicating in such a way that says, hey, this isn't over until it's over, and really salvaging the deal when the other side completely pulled out. As somebody who deals with partnerships, it is something that both sides have to agree to, and they both have to be a big part of it. So what I had to do was I had to go back to square one and reconvince them of the viability of this audience group and the viability of what are the campaign that we had built out. And I changed everything. So really, I went through the entire negotiation process all the way back down to signing twice. And I think that how I was able to solve it really using the game-based solutions was looking at the reflection of how games play a positive role in the lifestyle of the people that I represent. So, you probably know this, as a gamer yourself, but as far as the audience segment that I represent, it's going to be those cord cutting, ad blocking, high income people that are really looking to just get back to their interests. So how do I weave that service or that brand into the experience? And that's like a big challenge. So I'd really say that was one of, a tale as old as time. These people lose interest and they are really looking to get back to the basics and see how it can benefit them. And one of the ways that I was able to do that is through just raw data and statistics, following gamer psychology and also the esports trajectory growth that we're going to be experiencing in the future. And that's probably a story that I have just ready and available because this happened only a few weeks ago. So it's still really fresh in my mind. And it just really, it begs the question, what can go wrong or what will go wrong? And how do you best navigate that? And I'd say the best way of navigating that is keeping a clear head and sticking to the basics and the fundamentals. So that's probably the best way I can answer your question.
And facing something similar or in a similar fashion, perhaps, is there something you would start off doing differently, or it's just that keeping your head up and seeing what's in the landscape?
Yeah, I would definitely say be open to communication and have an eye on all of the tonality of all the communication that's coming in. And also just make sure that you are an authority figure in the space. So always try to educate yourself. And for me, there's a lot of different gaming specific, esports specific publications that I go to for whenever I want to learn more data points and things like that. But a lot of those times, those guys are coming to us to figure out what's going on in the current event space. So being well informed and being more informed than the other guy when they're asking you questions on such topics that pertain to you. So probably just, staying well informed and keeping an eye on the beat. And that's probably one of the easiest ways. And then just making sure that as you learn things, you try to incorporate it into your background memory so that you kind of are able to bring these strikingly positive statistics about your field and ease them into conversation. So that's probably why.
Amazing. Thank you for that story, Liam. And let's actually go for the opposite, right? One time when you were trying to do one of these things, create an impact and do something through gaming and the world of games in general, and things actually went your way. Again, it could be the first attempt or the nth attempt. It doesn't matter. We want to be there and perhaps see some of the success factors you could attribute to such an initiative.
Yeah, so I think a big part was convincing my colleagues of the viability of efforts in health and wellness in esports and how the optimization of the self, the nutritional and exercise intervention, how that plays a role in my space in general. Because, everybody thinks of gamers or esports fans as perhaps, not the most healthy and also kind of running away from society or some of their other responsibilities purely for the focus of gaming, which what we're seeing now is not the truth. The culture is really shifting towards the optimization of the self and benefiting their entire body. So what I can give you an example is that I was able to bring a level of self-reflection and consistency in both the gym and also in the health and wellness aspect of daily life to not only the teams that compete on behalf of the Knights. So we have an active roster of 4 separate teams, but also to the staff side as well. We employ around 30 staff members. So that's one thing that I was able to bring to our organization because it's something that I really feel that this entire industry could benefit from, the health side. So I think that's probably one of the quickest answers that I have for you on as far as like how, if something did work out, what would it have been? And it's probably that.
Yeah, bringing into this world of esports, that aspect, because again, the typical image, and this is something that has changed, dramatically over the years. The image of the gamer and there's all these memes going around nowadays, right? I think there was one which is it's like a dude, of course. The classic gamer is a dude, and it's not a girl. That's the first thing. Who's like half bald, but then the rest of his hair is like long, and his face is full of nipples, and he's like overweight or something. It's like, well, maybe that used to be back in some time ago, but nowadays, who can be a gamer is basically anyone, right? Like there's so many people who are gaming that it could be anyone. And if you take that to competitive gamers, I'm sure, well, I'm not sure because I'm not like super close following the industry, but it doesn't have to be somebody like that. And in fact, quite the opposite. If somebody's health is challenged, your not only your physical, but your mental skills are not going to be tip top. I'm sure that being an esports competitive team needs you to be in top form in almost every single aspect.
Yeah, so we're looking for different ways to diversify training. And one of the ways is obviously, sticking to the fundamentals, focusing on movement, aim, and focusing on hours spent in the direct gaming title and developing those kinds of skills pertaining to that game. That's obvious, but think of like Apex Legends or Warzone. Movement is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal because if you can pinpoint kill shots and headshots while you're moving and not getting shot, that is an insanely useful tool. So, one of the ways that we're able to increase overall brain cognition alone is by looking at different nootropics and also what's the most natural way? Exercise and what you put into your body. So put into layman's terms, regular diet and exercise, when it intervenes into the esports training model, it is immensely beneficial in performance in the game, whether you look at aim lab statistics or even just performance in game, it goes up by singular and by double digits, not decimals. So it's very beneficial to look at optimization of your performance in multiple dimensions and not just in hours spent in the game. So that's one thing that I brought to the team and also I hope to bring to this industry as a whole by focusing in on bringing different brands into the space that are looking to expand perhaps their outreach besides just the people who want to go in and lose weight, people who are coming back and they just want to be bodybuilders or, things of that nature. So,
Yeah, I mean, you think about athletes, again, regular sports, so to speak, or traditional sports, and you always think like, oh yeah, they need a lot of physical preparation, but the mental preparation is relatively new as well. Like this didn't used to be a thing in a soccer team or a football team, right? This was not the thing, and it's like, oh, these people do this. But now it's starting to be more and more common. I do hope that esports, as you were mentioning, starts doing this a lot more in the future. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. No, I'm just kidding. But we've got normal esports athletes making thousands of mental decisions per minute, whereas the usual person will make those kinds in a day. So approaching some of this action almost as a chess player would, because there's so much strategic thinking involved, and the way to speed up those decision makings is by what I've just stated. So yeah, man, I'm here for it because I was pretty lucky. I was able to find the industry that I really wanted to work in, and I found a really great team so far. So can't wait to see what the future holds as far as this one singular aspect.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Liam. And when thinking about this, perhaps the competitive games industry, or even how games can impact society as a whole, do you think there are some best practices. Of course, the mental health and the physical health that you're mentioning, I think, are crucial. Is there perhaps something that you would say like, oh yeah, do this and, it'll at least help, give you a better result?
Yeah, I think looking for a level of consistency and understanding that with that interest, where do you want it to go? So, I mean, like whether you're in gaming purely for the enjoyment or you want to turn it into some kind of job, whether you want to be a competitive player or a streamer, finding a level of consistency there so that you're consistently streaming, putting out content on these specific platforms, and measuring your success with different audience groups so that when you go to approach sponsors or hopeful other companies and brands that you'd like to work with, that you always have proof ready and understand who you are as a content creator or what is reflective of that. So bringing a level of consistency to anything that you do and making sure that you're measuring your success metrics. It's very easy for us as people just to say, oh, I don't feel that I'm getting better at this, or oh, I don't feel like I'm an expert in this. But you compare it to day one. Make sure that you're writing stuff down. Make sure that you understand where you're coming from in certain aspects. One thing that I have seen a noticeable interest to me going into a lot of these negotiation processes or communicating with people is that my writing style has completely changed. The way I talk to people since I started this role and way I'm able to transfer the ideas surrounding what my organization represents has completely changed. And I feel I can better pivot in different questions and I can better answer people's questions. And that's something that I can distinctly measure and I understand about myself. So to answer your question, I believe that any level of positive consistency and make sure that you're regularly reflecting back on where you started, that you don't get beat down by possibly negative thinking later on. And I'm starting to sound like one of these stupid lifestyle coaches, but I seriously, I'm serious. It really helps,
Amazing. So now that you've heard some of the questions here, some of the sort of the vibe of the podcast, is there somebody that comes to your mind that you would say, gosh, I think this person would be really interesting. I'd even be interested myself in hearing the answers of this other person, sort of a future guest for Professor Game?
Oh, man. Okay, so Travis Kalanick. So he's the guy who was the original founder of Uber. And he's a person who has just such tenacity and the unwillingness to give up that I believe a lot of your listeners, he's a bit of an intense, he's kind of intense as a person. And some of his actions might reflect negatively on him as a person. But I think that from the work ethic, consistency, and the vision, I think that there's almost the gamification of that in his own lifestyle and his own story, just purely because he gets excited off of battle and conflict. And if we're talking about gamification of any kind of experience, that's something that enabled him to experience such success because he was consistently happy when he was quote unquote at war, So I think it's something kind of like that. It's kind of like in any anime when a guy gets thrown across the room and he's just like, all right, now we're talking. It's kind of like that. But so I think probably Travis Kalanick, and then the only other person would probably be me in like a month. That's probably it. That's totally kidding.
Amazing. And keeping up with those recommendations, I think Travis could be very, very interesting to listen to. Is there a book that you would recommend people, maybe to getting into esports, maybe to understanding better the world of gaming, or just general inspiration that got you where you are?
Yeah, there's a book titled Brands Win Championships, and I believe that it's a really good example of the all-encompassing aspect of professionalizing your brand's image in the space. And you could even go at it because I believe it utilizes a lot of collegiate and professional athletic examples in it. But let me quick grab the author, Jeremy Darlow. Brands Win Championships. Really, really good book for anybody trying to understand that you don't have to win in order to be successful. You could be in the top 10 or you could be in the top 20. But if the fans have something to gravitate towards, if you guys represent something truly different and positive or in anything else, you can still continue to be monetarily successful with anything that you do. I mean, you look at some like schools in the Big Ten conferences, and many might consistently not win championships. Their season might be a 60-40 split between winning and losing, or losing and winning. And they're still able to attract students, able to attract sponsors for the teams and things like that. So I think Brands Win Championships will be a really good book recommendation for anybody. Unfortunately, I will let you guys know it's not on Audible. You will have to read it. but hey, listen, Amazon exists. So that's probably it.
Plenty of options out there in that sense, for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, making time to better yourself, there's multiple different ways to do that. And reading is definitely one of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've talked about other people at this point and you know, the book they wrote, that you recommend them to be on the podcast. In your case, what would you say is your superpower in this world of esports and gaming? What do you do better, at least than most other people? It's not like a superpower, it's just one superhero. Many of the powers are shared, right? So what would you say is yours?
Probably between two. So probably altering my own reality in a way that other people can be brought into it. Not like I'm a crazy person, but just so that other people are able to see the vision when I get down and I talk with them. Because I believe that when I do discuss my space, my field, all the things that we have planned, I believe that I'm able to show them why I'm so passionate about this space. It's because I truly believe in it. I believe that gaming and you know, esports in general can be a really, really good mainstream source of competitive and casual entertainment for the people. And I believe that there's a lot of good things that we can do with that. And if that's not my superpower of being a crazy person that's slightly delusional, I believe that bringing people together is one of my other things. I've always been the main hub of communication in a friend group to try to bring them out, to bring them together. And in gaming, what I saw in COVID University, I'm sure some of your listeners will know about this, but like when all institutions were in a purely virtual environment, I found that gaming was one of the best ways to continue to bring people together, provide a team-like ambiance for people, to make sure that people could still make friends in this environment based off of common interests. Where do you go when all other environments are taken away? And gaming was one of those positive environments that people could still hang out with their friends, make new friends. So yeah, those are probably my two favorites, you know, forcing people to hang out together and being a crazy person that makes it so that everybody else can see what I'm seeing. Those are the two.
Sounds good. And I'm going to make you one that is considered by many the most difficult question on the podcast, and especially somebody who is in the world that you are as well. And that question is, what is your favorite game?
Oh, man. I think the one game that I continuously move back to is probably going to be Star Wars The Force Unleashed, because I think it's like a really, really good aspect of the storytelling, and it allows you to truly do all of the brutal lightsaber combat that your heart desires. The game that I'm most excited to play, which I haven't gotten around to, is Fires of Rubicon, Armored Core 6. Or Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, just because, you know, mech-based combat is something that, as you know, as a Gundam and a generalized and anime fan, one of the biggest tropes is let's take these two giant robots and make them fight together. So that's one thing that I'm really excited for. So yeah, that is a tough question, but I had at least one answer prepped in advance. Oh wait, and a third is going to be the new Warhammer game, Warhammer 40K 2. Space Marine. That one's going to be awesome, because the guy who was in that one TV show Vikings, he does the voice actor for the main character. So that's one thing I'm really excited about. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, Warhammer in general.
Or is it somebody else?
No, it's not Ragnar. It's Ragnar's brother, Rollo. Yeah. So that actor. But, you know, Warhammer in and of itself has experienced a degree of expansion as far as the audience group. That's simply because Henry Cavill's in it, and they're just like, whoa, you can be like a male model and like nerdy things. And I'm just like, oh, God, get out of here, guys. But yeah, so Warhammer is something that I really like, which, you know, big whoop. I'm a guy who works in esports, and I also happen to like tabletop games. I think that's it's pretty generalized. It's like all the people who play D&D and also play Baldur's Gate 3. And they're just like, when you go from playing Baldur's Gate 3, like D&D in a video game, to D&D in real life, something like that.
Fantastic. And Liam, before we let you go, we would like to know if there's, again, anything you want to let the audience know, any final piece of advice, anything, I don't know, you want to, I don't want to say sell, but that you want to have any call to action, anything that at this point, the microphone is yours. And of course, do let us know where we can find out more about you and your team.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I always tell people is whenever you feel somewhat lost or you're in those like down in the dump scenarios, gravitate towards your passion and what really drives you and try to make that your main focus. And when you make that your main focus, you can drive towards, betterment of the self and things like that. I lucked out. I was able to find my passion very early on in overall my professional career and able to port my skills into this space. And I think that's something that everybody can find. It'll just give them a little bit of time. And in my case, it took about 23 years to find my passion, but it takes other people longer sometimes. And so I would say find your passion, and surrounding that passion, build your skill sets and build yourself. So when I say build your skill sets, there's lots of different free certifications you can go out and get to increase your overall knowledge surrounding team management, project management, marketing, all of those different things, kind of like the Google Ads suite and the Google AI suite. Definitely a really good free tool to use for anybody that wants to better legitimize themselves, even if they perhaps didn't go to college or things like that. And then also build the self. Take a look at what you're putting into your body and what kind of effort you're putting in from a physicality standpoint for yourself. I'm biased, of course, because I enjoy training and I enjoy eating simply and healthily, but that's not for everybody. So find a way to build yourself in a way that is sustainable for you. So build your skills, build yourself, and find your passion is probably the three biggest things that I would tell people if I had a microphone, which I do right now. But as far as, cool things were to keep up with, this month from the 21st to the 24th, we're going to be hosting Knights Forge, which is one of the largest in-person Riot-sanctioned Valorant tournaments in all of North America. My organization, we're not just a team, we're also a tech developer and a full-on events and tournaments organizer. So we regularly host cool stuff for, Valorant, Apex Legends, Halo, Rocket League, Fall Guys. And this is some of the cool stuff that I love to do, because when you get down to the events are just one part of gaming, but it's really cool when you can see people's eyes and families you can see their eyes light up when they see those big screens, and you see parents, you see their heads turn like, wow, this is the thing that my kids were really interested in. And you see you just see so many people's lives change at these things. So that's probably the thing that I'm most excited about. And then as far as how to get in contact with me, you can really just look up Liam Brown, Knights Esports on LinkedIn and I'll come right up. I'm probably one of the most popular guys on LinkedIn from our company. Let's face it, no, I'm just kidding. But either there, and then you can also just check out our website, knights.gg, and we're constantly putting out cool stuff. We're going to be running all of Valorant's competitive challenger scene next year. We got a lot of really cool stuff in the pipeline. So stay in touch, everybody. And Rob, if you ever need another guest because the other one canceled out, just let me know.
Amazing. Thank
Always
you
open.
very much for that, Liam. Happy to have had you here. Definitely. Thanks for, again, engagers, as you know, we don't always just go for the type of guests we go for in the sense of, a gamification designer, game-based solutions, etc. We like to have guests from surrounding topics, surrounding expertise that can give us a little bit more insight so we can get inspired on what's going on in those surrounding fields. And who better than somebody who's been into esports and is into esports and knows a lot about the theme to understand games a little bit better. So amazing. Thanks again, Liam, for being today with us. However, engagers, as you know by now, at least for now and for today, it is time to say that it's game over. Engagers, it is fantastic to have you around, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Professor Game Podcast. And I hope you enjoyed this interview with Liam. Do you have any future questions? Anything that you'd like to ask our guests for the future? How about you make your own questions? If that is something that you're interested in, questions, please go to professorgame.com/question and ask that question or set of questions If and when selected, they'll come up in a future episode and you will get your answer live from one of our guests. And remember, before you go on to your next mission, before you click continue, remember to subscribe or follow absolutely for free using your favorite podcast app and listen to the next episode of Professor Game. See you there.